Thanks a lot for joining me in this last talk. I'm the Principal Cloud Automation Engineer in Experian. Today I'm going to walk you through the process that we have for our golden image factory. But before going through that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of my passions, and that is hiking. If you have done hiking before, probably you know that it requires some level of preparation depending on what type of hike you're doing. So if you're a beginner or if it is a more advanced one, you might need to have to take your hiking poles. If it is if the weather is cold, sorry, you need to make sure that you wear leisure clothes and all of those things. So yeah, in my case, I like the ones that require more preparation than the others, so the more advanced ones. Well, first of all, I'm from Costa Rica. This picture here is from one of the hikes I did like 3 months ago. This is in the Chirripó National Park, and this place specifically is called Cerro Crestones. So it wasn't an easy hike at all. It took us 2 days to get here, but it was a lot of effort. My whole body was like really in pain, but and yeah, like it was like a lot of steep hills that we needed to walk through. I have a friend that usually tells me that I like the extreme adventures or something that is dangerous, but I think it's more about the challenge. Once you overcome all of that challenge and you get to that place, you get to this imposing landscape, right? It's actually worth, you notice that it's worth the effort. And I feel that is the same when you go through the cloud journey. Right? So there could be probably when you are starting, like in our case, when we were starting like 5 or 6 years ago on this journey and getting on the cloud and offering cloud environments to our customers, it was just like kind of like exploring. Sorry about that. Understanding what was the need, working with our other engineers, with the people from security, from architecture. To know what do we need to do to make sure that we would be providing secure environments to our customers. In this case, we just started with one cloud. It was just AWS. We were just 5 engineers at the time. But then we started getting other requirements. So it started getting a little bit more difficult, a little bit more, the trail was a little bit more steep now. So we needed to get, we started getting requirements for other cloud platforms like Azure, GCP. So how we were going to be providing environments for those different landing zones. We also had customers with different cloud skill levels. In our case, it's a full organization that we are supporting. So there will be customers that are like really mature in the cloud, right? That they have been there probably even before our team came to actually provide like this set of standards and security. And then there are other customers that they were just starting to engage into the cloud. Like they were probably migrating from on-prem, or they started just to play a little bit on the cloud platforms. So you might have thought that when I was saying the major cloud platforms is just like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, that is actually a little bit more than that. We also have Oracle Cloud and Alibaba Cloud. And not just that, we also are a global company. So we need to make sure that all of these different variables here that are for PCI, login, security, monitoring, governance, they are all included in the whole cloud environment, not just in our cloud general configuration, but also on the images that we provide to the customers. And these images need to be easy to use. It's not like they will need to do something manual after they launch them to make them compliant. But everything should be in place and should be correctly configured, even if they go to deploy it in the US, or if they go to deploy it in South Africa. So we were kind of like define this process that you see here. This is a monthly process that happens monthly, but it can happen actually, it could happen out of cycle. Like as you know, in Windows, sometimes there might be some specific vulnerabilities that happen out of cycle, like MVP1 vulnerabilities. So of course, we can run our full pipeline automation to build the images across the board. So how this is going to work, we're going to have a Packer, which is going to be building those images from the cloud marketplace images. These ones are going to be the vendor-offered images, which is going to get us like the latest ones. Then, thanks to Packer, since the HCL language, right, it's really easy to simply provide the specific variables of what we need for each of the different builders in AWS, Azure, GCP. So that's one of the first levels. We have our Packer build level for each of the cloud platforms, our HCL language, and in HCL, we provide those regions and what do we need on this image, right? And then we use the Packer provisioner, in this case we use Ansible, in order to pull the latest security agents that we need into that image. So that would be like the virus scan agent, like observability agents, or any agent that we need for security scans as well. That's all going to be embedded into that image. And not just that, we also need to make sure that the image is hardened. So we use the CIS benchmarks as a base to know what do we need to configure so that it is secure. And I'm going to be talking about that in a minute there. Okay, now we get the image built. We know that, well, we need to make sure that it is built on all of the cloud platforms, but we also need to make sure that it is going to be properly configured in the post-build phase. So one of the things that we add as part of the build image is that we need to make sure that there is a file that let us know which is the cloud platform that this image is being built on, because we're going to use it later. And then the other part, once this image is built, we're going to review that, that all of the tests pass. So we have some integration tests that we develop along with another team. And then we also need to make sure that the image is free of vulnerabilities. Once we know that it is completely free from vulnerabilities, or that we know that there might be vulnerabilities that are there but hasn't been fixed by the vendor, we document that, any changes. There could be new features as well. And then once that's done, we go ahead, publish those images across the board, across all of those regions and all of our organizations, and we communicate. Of course, as in this case, thanks Packer, we don't really need to know that deep into the nuances of each of the cloud platforms, since Packer does this abstraction for us. So as I was saying before, this is a little bit beyond just the building the image. We also need to make sure that this image is not broken. Why I'm saying this? Because we have had times where we build an image today, and maybe we didn't do any changes, and then in next month, for some reason, it doesn't work. Like last month, it happened that on Windows, we built a new image, and it wasn't accessible for some reason. And I don't have anything against Windows either, but that happens. So we need to make sure that, yes, the different services, that the instance is getting up. That's one of the things. And also then we start getting like the other tests. So observability, making sure that the monitoring agents that we have are working. In our case, we are working on a private network. So making sure that the firewalls are in place, that the connectivity works, so that these agents can reach the different management servers are there. Then we need to make sure that that's also reviewed as part of these integration tests. The same for the security, endpoint security, about that. The endpoint security tools, virus scan tools, and anything that is related to security is going to be in place. Inventory, we have certain conditions for the instance to get discovered on our CMDB database as well. And then there is this one here. We manage our privilege accounts on our Vault, and we need to make sure that that's working. We need to make sure that the users are able to authenticate, and that it actually works. Like, I think that last month it happened, and we have been reviewing that from the UK, some customers couldn't SSH into the instances because of a problem with the crypto policies that we needed to change due to the hardening. So that's also something that we are reviewing to improve as well on the authorization. So there's always something that we can evolve on. And then there is what I was mentioning before on hardening. So we make sure that all of those benchmarks from CIS are in place. So some of those things could be something like you cannot SSH into the instance with root user. That should be disabled. There is an LVM partitioning scheme that you need to follow where temp, var, hum, they are all in their separate partitions. So that's something that we take care on adding as well. And then file integrity monitoring should be something that needs to be enabled for PCI workloads. So that's something that we also need to make sure that is in place. So once all of those tests are completed, we also have, the vulnerability scanning tool has an API that we're using. So with this API, we are pulling the details on vulnerabilities that are found, if any. Hopefully, we don't have any. But it sometimes happens, as I mentioned before, that there might be a new vulnerability that hasn't been resolved by the vendor, and we need to document that. So this API gets those results. In this case, this is an example from an Amazon Linux 2 image where at that point in time, it didn't have a fix for this specific vulnerability, and we provide a link to the report. So why am I showing this? This is just like an object from the table on where we upload those results. But it would actually show sort of like this. It's basically this is a page that we are embedding in our kind of like in our documentation place, and we have an API that we created in an API gateway, which just pulls that data from our NoSQL table. So when they, in this case, when the customers are auditing, like if there is an auditing team as well that will be interested on these kind of reports, when they come here and they click View Report, they should be able to download the report that we got in that case. Hopefully that's usually not the case. We have been exploring a little bit on HCP Packer. This has been really mind-blowing. And, well, something that you should know if you started with Packer really early like me. In this case, if you were using the JSON format, you should migrate to HCL. And even if you don't use HCP Packer, it's a great idea. It has a lot of more features, of course, and you can add a lot more of logic into your code. Well, this is an example of one of the images that we built with HCP Packer. Something useful for us is that the customers know when the image is owned by our team. Our team is called EEC. That stands for Experian Express Cloud. When you go to the image version, it was like a huge, it was like looking really huge, so I couldn't fit it on the presentation. But you will see like all of the regions that this image is available on. So in our case, it was 13 regions. So it was kind of like never ending. And yeah, something pretty neat as well is that when you go to use it on Terraform, you can simply use a data source from HCP Packer to pull the latest image from that channel, and you just need to provide like the specific region of the image that you need to use. So that's pretty much as usual. It's going to give you the ID that you can later use to build your instances. But of course, not all the paths are so easy. It is not all unicorns and flowers, I think that someone said before. Well, I think 3 months ago, we had an issue on LVM for Amazon Linux 2023 and RHEL 9. So the issue was that, and yeah, this time it's not a problem with Windows. It was on RHEL 9 and the latest versions, basically, the latest major versions. And that's something that it was mostly because in AWS specifically, when you change the instance type, the device name changes. So when the customers were deploying new instance with the new instance type, LVM was when they tried to change the resize the partition, they were getting like a device not found error. So of course that image was buggy, so we didn't want it. We had to fix it, and we needed to make sure that that previous image was not going to be available for the customers. So HCP Packer achieves that really easily. And in our case, since we manage it through all of those regions, this really helps a lot. Like just in a single click, I can just remove it from the iteration. You can also schedule a removal if you want of the images that are like way too old, and that's something that is definitely really useful on the image life cycle as well. And yeah, once that image is built, then it needs to be used by our customers. And it is, again, customers across the board, and it should be easy for them to use. They shouldn't think about how to configure each of the things that are going, or each of the agents that are coming into that image. So as I was saying before, we have like a file, first of all, that we get into the images to know what is the cloud platform where it is running on. We have some logic in our Ansible playbook that it's going to get the instance details based on that. So what are the instance details? That would be the region. And also we get the instance tags. So if it is the in AWS, the EC2 tags. If it is in Oracle Cloud, is the compute instance tag, and so on. So we build an object, like an JSON object, and based on that, we start configuring the agents through different roles in our Ansible playbook. So if it fails, we notify the customers on why it failed. Sometimes it could be that they are providing a wrong value on the tag or something like that. And if not, they will get a completely configured instance, so without much effort. And just to give you an example, I almost forgot, from one of the tags, could be that, for example, for logging, customers can provide an index that they can monitor. So we can get that index from the tag and provide them some custom configuration based on that. And that's similar for the other agents that we support. There is a separate job as well that registers the DNS as well. So, okay, so we have a new image build. Customers are using it. But in the cloud, the environment is usually really dynamic. So we have a process that when an instance is terminated, it's going to trigger an event, and it's going to run a workflow. So I'm adding the Lambda icon there, but it's actually any kind of like the functions from the different cloud platforms. So Google Cloud, it would be the cloud functions with POP and SAP integration and so on. So this is going to call our Ansible workflow, which it is going to get all of the details from the instance. So from our database, it's going to know like what is based on the instance ID. It's going to know what was the name, if it had an AD object created, and those kind of things, so that we can clean it completely from our environments. Because otherwise, we're wasting those licenses, right, for an object that doesn't exist anymore. And finally, we remove the DNS record. So everything is completely clean. Okay. So in conclusion, take advantage of cloud agnostic tools for your automation. So in our case, Packer, of course, Terraform. When we test those images, by the way, we use Terraform, of course, and we're actually really excited and interested on the Terraform stacks because of our huge environment in all of those regions that I was mentioning. And something else that is important, if you are probably not the person who is building those images, we do have a lot of customers that have been using our images as well, that they have been rehydrating their environment. They are like really mature in the cloud, so they have all of their automation to support this. But we also have some other customers that are not there yet. And honestly, they're having a hard time just like trying to just keep patching them. But as you know, in cloud, if something doesn't work, just destroy it and recreate it, right? Yeah, like as you know, this is a lot of effort as well. So, you know, like for me, as I was saying before, when I'm doing a hike and all of that effort, when you come to this part that is a little bit more stable and you can see the landscape, you do know that all of that effort was fully worth it. But of course, as humans that we are never comfortable with where we are. We need to move. We need to move to the next big mountain. So we, same in our case, we'll keep evolving our process, and make it more automated. So thanks, everyone, for your time today. If you have any questions or if you want to discuss, let me know. We can either meet in the hallway or there's also my LinkedIn profile. You can find me as Natalia Marin in LinkedIn. You can also add Natalia Marin Experian, and you'll find that it's the first thing that you will see. So thank you very much. Goodbye.